war of Russia is not only the war against Ukraine. Its meaning is much wider. Russia started the war against freedom as it is.
Volodymyr Zelenskiy is one of the most legendary figures in contemporary politics. The world was moved by the daring wartime speeches of Ukraine's president, who addressed the cameras directly as his country was being bombed. His biography as a comedian turned resistance leader is a political fairy tale. Could it be that nice of an offer? During his New Year's Eve 2018 broadcast, Zelensky surprised his fans by announcing his candidacy for president directly to them. There was no such thing as Zelensky the politician by the time the campaign ended. Simply a comedian leading a loosely organized group that shared little philosophy beyond capitalizing on Ukrainians' frustration with corruption. During a TV discussion, he famously informed President Petro Poroshenko, "I am not your opponent, I am your verdict." Igor Kolomoisky, the strong billionaire owner of the TV station behind Zelenskyy's program, may have had a more serious goal in mind when he came up with the concept of upsetting politics by forming a party from scratch. A rumor began circulating that Kolomoisky's lawyer was one of the candidate's closest advisors, fueling concerns about the true motivations of those involved. But as the time went on, the new president distanced himself from his initial backers, emerging from their shadows and becoming the man we see today, at least according to Rudenko's account. Of course, this hero has his flaws. Initial interactions with Vladimir Putin of Russia and the economic policies reveal his inexperience. Despite campaigning against favoritism, he finds up hiring friends and media allies, while some of his newly elected representatives get embroiled in controversies and the vehicle of his political opponents mysteriously catching fire. Eventually, disappointment sets in as a result of Putin's invasion. However, the Ukrainian people quickly rallied behind their charismatic leader in an epic struggle for survival. Mr. Zelensky has grabbed the world's attention since the Russian attack started on February 24th. He often appears in videos sent to Telegram, Facebook, and Instagram from the middle of Kyiv, dressed in military t-shirts or bulletproof vests, and encouraging people to push the battle.
Freedom has different manifestations, but the most important for many is the ability to work for your benefit, for the benefit of your children and the one of your country.
On April 18th, he released a second video speech in which he warned that Russian troops had launched a new onslaught in eastern Ukraine. There have been previous occasions on which the 44-year-old has harried Western leaders into increasing their efforts to fight Mr. Putin. Mr. Zelensky, frustrated by the West's reluctance to act militarily, has repeatedly urged NATO to impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine, a proposal NATO has consistently rejected on the grounds that doing so would drag the alliance into a confrontation with Russia. He has frequently pleaded with the West to provide Ukraine with the weapons to stave off Russian aggression, including artillery, ammunition, air defense system, and fighter jets. In a speech delivered late on April 23rd, he warned that Russia's invasion of Ukraine was only the beginning and that Moscow now wanted to seize neighboring nations. Mr. Zelensky's claim that he is aware that he is at the top of Kremlin's list of people to assassinate or arrest, but he and his family are not going anywhere while the fights to hold their nation together. When he was first elected president in 2019, Mr. Zelensky tried to mend relations with Russia. After Russian troops took the Black Sea port of Crimea in 2014 and sparked a revolt that led to the two pro-Russian regions breaking away from Kyiv's rule, tensions between Ukraine and the Kremlin only grew. Mr. Zelensky has already made progress toward his goal of battering ties with Mr. Putin. He negotiated a prisoner swap with Russia, and progress was made on a plan to expand upon a truce accord reached in 2015. As a result of public outcry, he abandoned his original proposal. Diplomats from the West cautioned that Putin was attempting to persuade him to sign an agreement that would give him long-term power over Ukraine's destiny via Russia's proxies in the separatist states in order to prevent Ukraine from joining EU or NATO. Instead, Mr. Zelensky launched a popular campaign to retake that strategically important Crimean Peninsula and worked to convince NATO to strengthen its partnership with Ukraine. Those closest to him claim that Russians now see him as too similar to Mr. Poroshenko, the president he replaced, and too dedicated to bringing Ukraine closer to West. According to political observers, Mr. Putin was infuriated by the idea of Ukraine moving closer to West because he has been working for decades to expand Russia's sphere of influence, which had severely limited by the conclusion of Cold War more than 3 decades ago. Mr. Zelensky said on the 5th day of the invasion that the Ukrainian people were now fighting to become equal members of the EU.
It tries to show that people do not matter as well as everything else that make us people.
Many have since lost their lives in this effort. He was scruffy and dressed in a green army t-shirt, which he made the statement. But he made it clear that he and his fellow soldiers were willing to die for equality. Show that you're sticking with us and won't abandon us.